What's going on, guys?
Yeah,
How are you?
What's happening?
How are you?
Man, so happy to have you guys here. So excited, and thank you so much for coming out.
Likewise.
Thank you for having us.
No.
Yeah,
It'll be
stoked to
fun.
be here.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's a good time.
100%.
I appreciate it. So, yeah, I'm constantly listening to music on Spotify and trying to find out new artists. And the funny thing is, I'm always hearing music that I like, but I don't know anything about the bands. I just know that it's like, oh man, it's a really cool sound. But I discovered you guys, and I was like, that's really good, and I'm loving it, man. It's just I'm very inspired by your stuff. And tell me, I mean, how did you guys initially get started in music? Generally speaking, just growing up and listening to music, what were the initial influences that you guys had that you're like, yeah, that's pretty awesome?
I feel like it started for me with like, it was like really just a lot of listening at first and like super kind of like organically, like in the car on the way to school and like, you know, when I was getting ready for school and stuff, just like listening. I don't know, like one of my first favorite bands was Black Sabbath, and just like listening to that all the time when I was like 6 years old, and like fell in love with it, you know, fell in love with the energy of it. So, and we listened to a lot of music together.
Yeah,
so.
I mean that's kind of the main thing, you know, just coming at it from a listener's like a, you know, getting that bug of like you hear something enough times and you go like, I want to do that. You know what I mean? I want to do something like that, and then all of a sudden you somehow make your way to your first instrument, kind of, and you know the rest is history from there, kind of. A little bit, you know.
What age would you say like you guys kind of got bit by the music bug, as they say?
Yeah, I mean, I can remember, you know, being, I don't even know, 5 or 6,
Yeah, 5 or 6.
Just listening. I think one of the kind of the first 2 Arctic Monkeys records were pretty like early seminal records for me that I just kind of like garage rock, like straight, you know, it's kind of riffs and good songs, and that came out right when I was like around 5 and 6, and I remember being like, I gotta do something like that, you know what I mean? Just like immediately, you know, yeah.
Right on. Yeah. Was it like music playing in your head all day?
I kind of like, I definitely like soundtracked my life. I think I had like my parents made me a bunch of like kind of like not mixtapes because they weren't on tape, but like CD mixtape, like just all my favorite songs. Do you know what I mean? And it would be like one artist to the next, and like I would just listen nonstop all the time. And I didn't even start playing until I was like 13. So there was like a long time where I was just like a huge fan of music, and I like never thought about playing or like didn't understand like how you'd play guitar or anything like that. And but it was like cool to, I feel like having like a super like natural intro to it like that is cool, you know? Like I wasn't like forced to play piano when I was like 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
I was actually though, funnily enough, like not forced, but I wanted to start doing guitar lessons, and someone said you have to do piano lessons first, which then obviously I didn't do anything with because I didn't want to do piano at all. So I remember that was when I was taught like what the like, you know, like the 12 notes and white keys and all that stuff. But you know, that was my first, I guess, introduction to actually playing. But I didn't actually kind of on my own get into it until kind of like he's saying like 12 or 13.
Yeah.
That seems to be the age.
Yeah.
I don't know why. 12, 13 seems to be that age where it's like, okay, it's happening. I mean, like for me, I always loved the idea of it and seeing people play, you know, on TV or whatever. But I know that it might have been the summer after 6th grade. Went over to my buddy's house, and he had a couple friends over there playing guitar, and I was like, so wait a minute. You mean to tell me like a 12-year-old could play guitar?
Yeah.
Because I thought this was an adult thing, like we could play?
Right.
And I made the connection. I immediately went home and I was like, yeah, now I'm going to have to get a guitar. You guys are going to have to work this out somehow. But was it the same for you guys? Did you see anybody playing around the neighborhood or your friends? Or?
Well, that's the thing. I feel like I had like kind of the exact same experience as you, where it was like this almost not intimidating, but like other world, like seeing somebody play guitar when I was like 9, I was like, I would never, I can't even like unfathom how you would do that. Do you know what I mean? Or like drums or something. And then I kind of had that same realization at some point of just like, oh, like here's a whatever chord, and like you can actually like this is achievable.
Well, I think kind of like you're saying, like at least for me, like it was a big like the social element, kind of like you're saying, you know, like I saw other people were doing it, especially like when you're getting into like the beginning of high school and stuff like that, like the the kind of group thing of like, oh, I want to like be in that kind of too, because that's kind of part of it, you know, always, you know, even now as well. You know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. 100%.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. No, I caught that when I caught the music bug, it was over, man. Like
Yeah.
all the other interest I had, it was like, forget it. That's lame. If it doesn't have to do with playing in a band or whatever, like that was many years.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You know,
100%.
now I'm a little bit more even with stuff, but yeah, there was a period of time. It's like if it's not music, I couldn't care less. So,
Yeah.
I mean, what about for you guys? I mean, when do you start picking up the instruments and playing, and when do you realize, okay, this is something? Like, I'm not stopping. This is not like a 1 year fad of taking lessons or whatever.
Yeah.
I think for me it was, I started, like, I played for a while, and it was kind of like, I was just always like a huge music fan, but I didn't really like fall in love with playing an instrument until like actually like a few years into playing it. Like I was sort of like 15, and then I was like, oh, damn, I can like actually like, when I realized that I could like play along to my favorite songs and like play the things that my favorite people were doing, and that it was like a way to connect with other people, I think that kind of like changed the game for me.
Yeah.
You know? And like playing in bands with, I don't know, there's just like something, like you're saying, at that age you come into this like certain moment where like all of a sudden everybody like has bands, and like you're kind of like, you're older, so you're allowed out of the house more, and like everybody's in school and playing together and doing, and it's like becomes this whole like scene, you know? And I feel like that kind of like changed my relationship with it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Totally.
Taking it more seriously.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's kind of a thing that you find, you know, like he's saying, it didn't happen, and it wasn't the first time, because like bass was my first instrument. Now I play guitar in the band. Well, I've always been the singer, but I switched from bass to guitar, and like bass was my first instrument, and it was kind of that thing. I didn't want to practice it when I first I liked the idea of playing bass, but I didn't want to like sit down and actually practice. And then at some point it finally clicked, and I was like, now all I want to do is practice, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started with the guitar initially. I always kind of was a music fan, but got my like first guitar from like a pawn shop or something. When I was in Florida, it was like this like Fireburst Les Paul like rip-off thing.
Copy.
And plugged it into a bass amp and just kind of started messing around, like learning all my favorite songs and stuff. Yeah, that's how I got into it. And then went to drums for a little bit, but came back to guitar because I just kind of like what Miles was saying. I loved the idea of like playing my favorite songs and like learning my favorite songs and whatnot.
Yeah. No, I know that feeling. Especially when you first start playing, and take me to when you guys start playing in bands, and what's that like playing with, you know, different musicians.
Yeah, totally. No, I mean, that's a whole process in itself and all that. You know, I think that for me it was just really exciting to, you know, kind of, I think, break, like Miles was saying, you know, for a while you don't even know if you can be playing or doing anything like that, and then all of a sudden you're in these bands and you can play around and do different stuff, and I had a lot of fun doing it for sure. You know,
I think I was kind of it like, when I started playing in bands, I definitely was not the best at what I was doing, and like most people were better than me, and I think it was intimidating at first, but it also kind of like kicked me into gear with like wanting to do, like you're saying, like what made you want to play more or get serious about it. It was definitely like, that was a transformative moment for me when it like became a thing with playing with other people all the time, because I was like, oh, I like want to be the best, and like maybe feel a little competitive about it, and also want to be like the best band and like play the songs, be able to play like the songs I like and stuff like
100%.
that. You know what I mean? Not be so like, kind of like really do well at it, you know?
Yeah, the competition is essential.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, it's you got other bands in the neighborhood or at the school, and you don't want to be showed up.
Exactly.
You know.
When I was in high school, I played in both of them. I played, so I had my own band that I really believed in, and then I had some friends ask me to be in their band.
So you sold out.
Yeah, but it was funny. We're like some kind of undercover cop, you know.
Yeah.
No, but so we would play shows together and like fight to headline and stuff like that. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, and that's like a cool part of the culture, you know. It's cool to do that. It's cool to like have that kind of stuff going on, be fighting to headline and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Battle of the Bands.
Exactly.
Back in the day. So take me to your first gig with, how'd that go? How'd it work out? So, we just had the episode with Taipei Houston, and it's a fantastic episode. I'm super excited. So much good information from this band that is just killing it. They just got off the road with the tour with Nothing But Thieves. They tell us about their creative process, life on the road, injuries, so on and so forth. If you don't want to miss it, it's a fantastic episode. Also, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button below. And also, the biography below, I've got an amazing Skool community of music artists and creatives that I'd love you to be a part of, and this is for free. Make sure you check that out. Don't miss it.
Yeah,
With this band?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I feel like we've had like 2 first gigs because we were originally a duo.
Yeah.
And so it was the 2 of us, and we had like our first show September of 2021.
I was there too, which is funny.
But he was there.
As a friend, yeah.
He's as like, a friend.
Yeah.
And was there. It was at Alex's Bar in Long Beach. If anybody was listening, likes Alex's Bar.
Oh, right on.
Place is great.
Super, great vibe. Really cool bands come through there. But it was, like, a great gig, and we played. And it was, like, sort of on the tail end of COVID, so it was, like, we'd only just been in our, like, garage, like, working it out for, like, years. And so I had, like, it was weird because, like, all our stuff was in the computer, and I was sort of, like, how is this gonna, what's the reaction gonna be live? Like, how are people gonna feel about all this stuff? Like, there was no, like, it felt kind of like jumping head first, and it wasn't like,
definitely,
like waiting in, you know, because it was like so kind of like nobody'd heard it, and then we were playing a bunch of shows.
No, it's good. I mean, my favorite thing about first shows, whether it was that first one that was just me and Miles or it was the 3 of us, is that like no matter how much you rehearse for like your first show, like the minute you get on stage you realize 10 things that you didn't think about in the rehearsal, whether it's something with a gear thing or this or that or anything. And that's, I kind of always like that because there's always like that X factor element of surprise thing that is,
I have no idea.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that oh shit moment.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's either gonna happen or it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But how's it gonna happen? Yeah. What's gonna happen? What's the feedback? And so what was the response?
It was great.
It was really good.
Yeah. I mean, I
had both.
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah.
The first one was funny because like being an audience member, I was like, oh yeah, these guys we were kind of introduced by mutual friends that day, and I went to their show and we hung out after for a little bit and just like kind of stayed in touch. But it was a really sick show. It's cool.
Yeah. It was very fun. I have a very fond memory of it. And then we did another first show as a trio with Kai, like in February or no, April.
Yeah.
April?
Yeah, that was April.
Yeah, March or April.
Somewhere. It happened at some point
almost
this
like
year.
9 months ago.
Yeah.
9 months ago. Yeah. And that was also great, you know. Really and you're kind of, it's cool to like, anytime you debut anything live, I think it's a trip. I really love it because it's such an immediate experience. Like when you play new songs, it's like you never really know how a song feels or what the audience is gonna think or what your own experiences of it until you do it live. Do you know what I mean? Because it's such a like, you can never really have more musically a visceral musical experience than live because it's like kind of so intense. Do you know what I mean?
It's electric.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, that's feeling for me, and I know exactly what you mean. It's like when you record the songs, and they feel a certain way, and that's a good feeling. But when you rock it on a stage, it's a different.
Definitely.
What is it like for people that don't? I don't know. Record. Like, tell them what is it like. You got these songs. You're excited about them. You don't know. You haven't really put it out there yet, and that right before you hit that first song, let people know like what's going through your mind. What's that feeling like?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely exciting for sure. I mean, I think that the main thing is you kind of get that first like, oh, this thing that's just been between the 2 of us or 3 of us is now like out kind of, and you sort of like you start to understand like the reactions for yourself as an artist, as playing shows. You start to realize like, oh, like, wow, I really like the way this song feels or that kind of thing. You know what I mean? And I feel like it's super different from the writing process. You know, playing those shows is like its own whole thing. Yeah.
I kind of think it's like the way I feel always is that like it stops being like yours kind of when you play it live. Like you sort of like have a song and you work on it and you can write it in 3 minutes or take a year toiling over it, and it's kind of like always your thing that you're like working on, and then the second you like play it live, it's like it's not really yours anymore. Like you're kind of giving it to everybody, and that's an interesting thing because people like I've never like had a song that I've written or done something in a performance. Like, you know, I'll always, if I'm writing a song, I'll be like, okay, I'm really inspired by this idea, or I'm trying to, you know, I'm going to pull on like these 3 references for writing this song. Do you know what I mean? And I never get the same thing back from the audience. Like if we play a song, I never hear from them like, oh, you were like referencing these 3 things.
Yeah.
Like they completely interpret it differently. Do you know what I mean?
Which is
something like, totally different.
Yeah. Exactly.
Nothing to do with what you thought or.
Totally. Well, that's the thing is that it, like the audience kind of becomes part, like they affect it. You know what I mean? They make you realize how a thing really is or something.
Yeah, and it becomes something different when you do it lot. Like, you know what I mean? It stops being kind of just like your own thing, which I think is like it's one of the like craziest parts of being an artist, I think, because it's like
when and how it's interpreted is always crazy. Like meeting people after the show and they like kind of come and tell you like who they think you sound like and stuff like that, and you're just like, oh, I've never thought about that, or I've never listened to them once.
Yeah.
You know? Something like that. It's
I heard them once, but not really an influence.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
No, that's a trip. Yeah, I know how that goes. And then, I mean, what about songs that you thought were really, really well when you recorded them, but now you're playing it live, you're like, they're not responding to that one, but this other one.
Yeah.
Totally, yeah.
You ever see that?
No, well, for sure. I think it's part of that for us is that actually, like, because we wrote everything and did a lot of recording before we did a majority of our shows. So then it's actually what ends up happening is you go like, oh, after playing it 20 times, you know, maybe you realize where it sits naturally is maybe a little slower than you recorded it or something. You know what I mean? Like when the show kind of starts to inform it a little bit as well. You know, I think the thing that we found is that, you know, all of the stuff, I mean, it's kind of that super old, you know, cliche thing, but all the songs that come in like 5 minutes and you piece it together and it is done on the floor, that's always the stuff that is the most like kind of electric feeling and connects with people, I feel like.
Yeah.
You know, that's definitely a true cliche thing that I can support.
I agree with that.
Have you guys ever had a song that it took you a minute to finish it and you're like, but it's actually not bad, but it was painful?
Definitely.
Yeah. I feel like there's like, think that there's like this, every time I've like in the like beforehand of playing shows and like putting music and stuff out, like every time I've tried to like know what it is I'm gonna feel about it later, it like never, like I feel like it's always like, if you write a collection of songs, like your favorite one ends up not being the one you expected, and like the audience ends up loving 3 that you didn't think were gonna be the ones that it's like always like a process that's full of surprises and interesting things and evolving as you play more and stuff, which is like the beauty of it. Like that's I love that part of it, you know what I mean?
No, and I think I was gonna say to your point, there's definitely some of the ones that like there's the ones you finish super fast, and then there's the ones that you'll toil over it for ever and ever. You go through so many different changes, and you end up putting it back to exactly how you had it the first time you ever came up with it. You know what I mean?
It was best the first time.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? That's definitely one of the things. But I mean, you know, honestly, anything like in my opinion, just as long as you get it across the finish line and you finish things and get them done, I think that's one of the best things about the shows as well, is that it's like, okay, now it's real. You know what I mean? You show up and you have to have a thing that you're like, this is the song, it's real now, I'm showing it to the audience, or now it's real, it's out on Spotify, it's out wherever, you know, I think that's the healthiest part for artists, is that you have to have it done and move on.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because you could go over it forever.
Yeah.
You could change it 60 million different ways, 60 million different versions, and drive yourself nuts.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the death of creativity, is just that stuff. Yeah.
That's almost the downfall of modern technology. Mm-hmm. But I like what you said, though. It's like, with the show, do you ever feel like with those first initial shows, that was the deadline to kind of get it going? Like, okay, we're going to do this show, and after that, it's like we have this date set. We got to have these songs in place. Like,
yeah, 100%. And well, because we like mostly had everything done for the first few shows, but there was a few songs. There's like 2 or 3 songs that were still just like we played versions of them that were unfinished. So actually, I guess I'm kind of contradicting what I just said. But the thing being that it does like then you do have to go to that show and go like, okay, well now like I'm seeing how this version works kind of or something, you know, and all of a sudden you go like, well, that's why it's not finished yet is because I know, you know, then you're at the show and you get that certain reaction or something. Yeah. So there's definitely, the shows are definitely helpful with the deadlines, I think, you know, personally.
I do think it's a helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes it real, you know.
It's gonna happen. Yeah. No backing out. So yeah. Now, what about when you guys, you know, you write and you record? What's your typical process? Do you kind of jam out some riffs and then kind of make melodies, or how do you do it?
Yeah, so I mean, we kind of go about it in a few different ways. I mean, there's a lot of times, especially on the first project we put out. Our first project was called Once Bit Never Bored, and it was 9 songs that Miles and I wrote, and it was all, you know, most of it was written on the floor, the two of us, you know, jamming, and you know, he had a riff idea, I had a riff idea, or something like that, and just, you know, kind of stereotypically piecing it together. You go this thing first, then we're gonna get this next part going, that kind of thing. And then this new song we just put out, which is called Brain Deaf, and is gonna be the first thing coming out from an EP that's coming in the spring. This time around, we had a little bit of a different process where we sort of like we'd work a little bit more integrating the computer into it, but still, again, those ideas come from just, you know, the two of us coming up with ideas, sitting. I show him an idea, he says, that's good, that's not so good, you know, doing those kind of typical things. But we wanted to work, it was easy for us to work with the computer a little bit as well, you know. So.
I think especially when it was just a duo, we used the computer a lot as a tool, because it's like, there's a lot of times there's things you want to do that you like literally can't create just with 2 people. And so that was like a really cool process for the second thing too. You can also like achieve a lot of sounds that you can't get live. But it's been like an interesting process, like making things digitally and then bringing them into a live setting, and then you go back to the digital thing and change it after you play it live, and kind of going back and forth there. I think for the next, like we've just been doing a bunch of writing because we're psyched right now, and the next thing we're going to try doing almost completely live, all completely live, because we haven't done that before as a band.
Yeah,
exactly.
No, 100%. And I think that, you know, I mean, we do go through those typical things of, you know, bringing in a song and, you know, you arguing over the details, you piece things together, all of a sudden there's a new bridge on it, you come out with something completely different, you take an old idea, you rework it. I mean, it's just kind of those tried and true ways of getting down to the bottom of it, you know.
Definitely.
Yeah.
How do you guys know when a song is done?
When there's a show. When there's a show.
There's a show.
Yeah. When there's a show, then you go like, well, it's done now. I think for us, I mean, you kind of start to know. I mean, there are those ones that you just largely piece together within, you know, 5 minutes the first day. You know, like Brain Deaf was one of those ones. I wrote it. I had the original chorus idea. I wrote the rest of the ideas in a morning, and then him and I finished it together in the afternoon. He was like, you got to do this. We came up with new sections together. Like and by that, you know, 2 hours and it hasn't been changed or something like that, you know. And I think that you just, at a certain time when you get enough songs, like they all kind of start heading in a certain direction together, kind of as a collection. And you start to realize like, oh, now they're all going in that kind of same direction, needing to be finished, you know.
Definitely.
I think, like I would say too, like at a certain point, you go like, damn, I need to finish this because I gotta move on. You know what I mean? Like, you know.
I don't get done, I'll go crazy.
Yeah.
But is it the same process with the song order for the album when you're putting it together? Like, how do you figure out? Because, you know, I'm sure the first song or two you probably want to come out with a bang, and like, how do you do that sequence?
The sequence for you. Sorry, you mean the sequence performing the show, or you mean on the record?
For the record.
Yeah, I think you kind of just like. That's a good question. I feel like it's kind of like subliminal. Like you kind of can like feel it.
There's a thing somebody told us that's like, if you have to ask what the first single is, then you don't have the first single. You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
Which is, I actually kind of think, I do think that is a little true.
That's definitely true.
Yeah.
I guess like I feel like records, like at least everything we've ever made in batches of songs, you always kind of like do have sort of like a compass of like, this would be like the first song because it's like introductory of like what it is, or it's like a thesis statement.
Yeah, exactly.
And then like.
And I think you like for us, and I know that this is something that other people have spoken about before too, is that like oftentimes it's the first song that you get, and it's like will be the first single as well, or like you know what I mean. Like it's the first song that you land on, and you go like, oh, that now I can try to make 10 other things that are related to this.
Yeah.
And it is usually sort of like that first best thing because it has to be electric enough for you to stop and go like, whoa, that's something. You
That
know
makes
what I mean?
sense.
You know, which I know a lot of people have talked about.
Definitely.
The first song is kind of like a landing spot, and then from there you can kind of figure it out because that's the main piece of the puzzle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then from there it's like, well, this okay. Now that makes sense.
Yeah.
I kind of think of it as like a mission statement. Like with the last two, it's always definitely, there's like, I could tell you, it's definitely As the Sun Sets and Brain Deaf for our two records, where it's like, you know, As the Sun Sets was like basically the earliest song made from the first record, and it's like, it like opens you into that world. You're like in that, like that was the doorway into like, oh, I understand like what this record would be about. Do you know what I mean?
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So tell me, so from the first gig, I mean, what happens after that? What happens?
After the first gig, we played. We were kind of just like getting our. I feel like we needed to just like play a lot of shows.
Yeah.
Get the reps under.
Yeah, we just had to get the kind of the reps under our belt and stuff, and then you know we. Kind of like I said, as we were playing a lot of those first shows, we started working on recording and finishing the first project, which was 9 songs, and so we had all of those, and so we finished the record, I guess in the beginning of 2022, sort of somewhere around there, as we were playing a bunch of shows, and then just kind of started, you start hitting it, you start just playing more shows, trying to get out there as much as possible, basically, especially for bands starting out, just playing a lot.
Definitely.
Yeah,
I think it was fun to like. It honestly, like when I think back on it, it felt like such a whirlwind because COVID, like had just wrapped up, and it was like, everybody was so excited to be at shows again, and I was excited to be at shows again, and it was just like a very electric year of, not only for us, but also like I feel like music was just. I mean, music's always electric, but like that year, it was just like so great.
An explosion.
It was like great to be.
It was like,
yeah, and we just played a lot of shows. We did a bunch of touring, and kind of just like I learned a lot for sure. We played like so many shows, and it was very interesting. It's like you really learn a lot doing that. Like when you travel and you like play like I don't know 30 shows in the U.S. in different states and to like different like. In different just like places and stuff, you really like get a sense of like what people are into about what you're doing and what they're not, and like how to kind of like I feel like it really helps you improve your craft.
Definitely.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
You know?
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, is it different? Because I imagine like playing New York is probably a lot different from playing like I don't know, Arkansas. Like, do you see regionally how it changes?
100%. Yeah. Well, I think the main thing. Not even, I mean, definitely regions, I mean, for sure, I think that the main thing is that those places where it, they don't quite get as many shows as, say, downtown Los Angeles or something like that, they're so enthusiastic and stoked about it. I mean, one of the best shows we ever played, we played a show in Santa Fe in New Mexico that was, like, unreal. It was just, like, the building was coming down with us. It was crazy. In a great way, yeah.
No, because do you know the Melvins?
Yeah.
So we opened for the Melvins for like off and on for like a year and just played like, and they really like are like masters of the road. They like literally. I mean, I didn't even tell you I ran into Dale.
Oh no way! Oh yeah.
Dale, the drummer in Melvins. Shout out, he's great. But like, I was talking to him. I think they're doing like 80 dates next year or something in like it's like something insane. Like they're literally like
month and a half.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally,
it's like 80 dates in like 3 months. Or something.
Yeah, 80 dates
crazy.
in 81 days.
And like, and they just and they love it, and it's not like, oh, we're doing this for some reason other than the fact that we love it. Like they literally just like they love doing it, and they play like. They'll play like the bigger A markets, you know what I mean? But they'll also do like we played in Denton with them, which is like an hour outside of Dallas. We played in Santa Fe. We did like all these like inland California gigs, kind of like not
Fort
places.
Collins.
Yeah, we played Fort Collins. We played like Bakersfield. We did like all these places that are kind of like not like if you're on a bigger tour, you would not stop there, and it's like amazing because the fans are super psyched that you're there playing, and like you play these like really like exciting shows that are
100%.
like very kind of like intimate in like a great way and just like cool, and you're really kind of cutting your teeth. And I mean, I had so much fun doing that. Honestly, it was
a great
like
time.
Well, I mean, it's like, you know, they're out there. I mean, I'm imagining like Bakersfield, 2 hours from LA. They need some entertainment.
100%.
Right? I mean,
Totally. Yeah. No, and it's like
not much up there.
Yeah, it's great to get to go do that, you know.
No, and it's definitely, it's to your question, I almost think, well, I mean, the Midwest always has the craziest shows.
Yeah, Midwest,
like the
Midwest and Texas. Midwest and
Texas are always like, I mean, this tour we just did with Nothing But Thieves, the Midwest shows were like,
oh, really?
Unreal, yeah.
Oh, do tell.
It's just like, people are just really, really passionate music. I mean, people are passionate music fans everywhere, but like, I just always, every time I go there, I'm just kind of like floored by the level of excitement and like interest and kind of like curiosity. Like people will like really ask you like super engaged, interesting questions about what we're doing, and like just the fandom is like really cool.
Well, and I think especially for kind of like alternative rock, hard rock, you know, it definitely holds a special place for, you know, people there, which I think is really cool. So,
man, what was it like touring with Nothing But Thieves?
Yeah,
it was amazing.
I mean, the best. Yeah, they're.
Really
I mean,
cool.
so much that we learned from those guys. You know, I mean, I think one of the best things about touring, just with anybody, is the stuff that you can just pick up from them. You know what I mean? Whether it's any kind of advice or anything that, you know.
I've definitely learned a lot getting to watch everybody we've toured with every night. You know, like getting to watch Nothing But Thieves every night is like unreal. Just being side stage, because they're such a powerhouse. It's like crazy, and
really
and I don't,
inspiring.
also seeing like just the way that real professionals carry themselves like around the gigs as well. You know, just like sort of everybody's just like on time, like super pro with what they're doing, like knows exactly how to just like execute it every night and like just be A+, you know,
and not only A+, but also like be hospitable and, you know, go their way to help people with, you know what I mean?
Cool.
Like that, so
yeah, they took really good care of us.
Yeah,
took good care of you guys. No egos or anything.
Oh, no, not at all. Yeah,
I've never seen them live, but I imagine they do they bring it?
100%. Yeah,
really,
definitely.
Really do.
No, because I mean it's just so great. I mean, you know, they've been around, you know, for a while and have a ton of experience with shows, and just what they're able to conjure in those rooms is fantastic. You know, so great experience.
No, it's they're a powerful force for sure. They really like control. It's like those things you just see when you see, and that's also one of the things I was gonna say to your question earlier too. Like, I feel like one of the biggest things that I experience playing different places is like when you play a super small place versus like these rooms, like opening these rooms for Nothing But Thieves. They're all like 5,000 caps, and it's just like that show experience is like very, very. If you're playing to like, you know, 100 people somewhere versus like opening the 5,000 cap is cool, but it's so those are different experiences. But also like the way a band like Nothing But Thieves just like has the room like
captivated,
like completely in their control,
totally.
like the whole time.
Really,
and it's not like it's not stressful. They do it very suavely. It's very sort of like they just know they can command the presence. It's very, as an artist, I was watching it like every night, just being like, I don't know how they're doing this.
blown away.
Really cool.
Blown away. No, that's got to be very inspiring to see a band like that. Like you said, they just got it going on.
Mm-hmm.
But tell the audience, I mean, there's a big difference between a, 200-person show and a 5,000-person show. I mean, what are the differences and the nuances between those different types of shows?
I think it's like, at least the way I felt, is that you can kind of get away with a little bit more when you play small places, in terms of like being, if you're messy or like you're being just like crazy and over performative. Like if you're playing somewhere small, you can like really just kind of go nuts, because that's kind of like the vibe, you know. Like when you're playing like a little place, you want to just have it be punky
and sweaty,
out of control and like loud. Do you know what I mean?
Nasty.
Exactly.
Yeah, you want that. You want it to, you want to like kick your kick drum over and like jump in the audience and have it just be like disgusting. But then like when you do the bigger places, it's like that kind of that like Fifth Element thing that you can't describe, that like Nothing But Thieves has, that like we're sort of working to like build, as well as that like ability to like hold a room in your hands, kind of like like a huge place is sort of like, how do you get all 5,000 of those people to be like,
well, really like a
like
a show more.
A
you know what I mean? A show more than like a band set.
A show.
When you're doing that stuff in those smaller rooms, it's way more. There's like there's not really like a divide between you and the audience, you know what I mean, and so on. They're very, and that's what those small shows are about. And then you just think, when you get to those bigger places, about how can you really create something that is larger than life, you know. And I think the best part about that stuff for us is, you know, getting to do, because we've gotten to do like shows in big venues before. We got to open for Muse at the Wiltern, which is really exciting. That was, I mean, our first, that was like 1,800 people there, and that was our first kind of big show like that. And we got to open for Foo Fighters, which was really great. That was at like an outdoor amphitheater.
It was like 12,000.
Yeah, but the thing, like, because those are both great, and what was so great about them is we got to do them, but they were like kind of one-offs, right? And then with this thing with Nothing But Thieves, I mean, doing, you know, 15 to 20 shows in those spaces, you know, you learn and you get the reps in, you know, the way that you get the reps in the clubs too. So,
It's like a workout. So I mean, what's it like? You know, all those days, and I'm sure there's days in between, but going from town to town, how do you keep the focus? You know?
Yeah. I think that like the one thing I am grateful for with these dudes is we all, like, especially this last tour, like we're very kind of like organized and focused, and like wanting to just have it be amazing shows. So just like, you know, trying to get enough sleep, trying to like, we were on time for everything, just like trying to kind of like be very together with it. You know
totally,
what I mean?
100%.
I feel like it's kind of, I don't know. I don't know. What do you?
We're down for a routine. That's for
Yeah,
sure. We kind of all like.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I think that the way you get through it, you like, I mean, is the want to do it. You know, mainly that kind of thing. And then I think beyond that, even, you know, I think the things, you know, because we've learned a lot from the bands, you know, Melvin's and Nothing But Thieves too, about the show side of it and so on, but also the like how you kind of conduct yourself in those things. You know, you know, showing up on time, being professional, these kinds of things. Because we've played with a lot of bands that like are more loose with those things, and that's totally fine or something. But it is great to see, you know, see those bands that get to those other stages and how they carry themselves, and then you just want to be on your shit, you know.
So I mean, part of it is being good, sounding good, and doing your thing, but it's also professionalism where people are gonna take you guys serious.
Yeah.
And that's good. You guys are taking your craft serious. So. No partying on the road? No,
I mean, the healthy amount.
I mean, you definitely leave space in the schedule for that.
Yeah.
But
some fun.
Yeah.
Some fun.
Yeah.
There was room for him to. We had a really crazy thing happen where we played 2 shows, and then right before the 3rd show, Lane dislocated his arm.
Yeah.
And we had to cancel that show, unfortunately, but we were back at it like literally the next day. Like we
it's pretty wild.
rushed him to the hospital
10 minutes before the show.
10 minutes before the show.
Yeah,
and we the doctor popped it back into place.
And
Lane recovered.
Oh.
It was
Did
crazy.
the rest of the tour. Yeah.
That was an adventure though.
That was definitely I mean, this is the kind of stuff, I mean, the amount of adventures, Miles and I, we did like 50 dates in Europe, and like the amount of random like things you find yourself in those kinds of situations. I mean, the road is definitely unpredictable for sure.
Yeah,
but
and
I mean,
it's scheduled so tightly that it's like, you know, you can't make room for like dislocating a shoulder, except somehow we did. Somehow we did. We had room in the schedule for that.
How that happened? You fall or something?
Yeah, it was like a whole thing, just and it was literally like right before the show, so it was just crazy changing of headspace.
Crazy phone call to get when I'm like in pre-show mode.
Thinking about, you know, I'm in show mode and all this stuff, and then I mean it completely came out of nowhere. But I mean, like we said, that kind of.
I'm just happy the tour wasn't. It looked. I mean, I don't know if you've seen that. But it looked crazy.
It looked
I
bad?
was like,
Oh,
I was like, he's gonna need surgery.
Yeah.
We're gonna drive home. I was like, it's over.
Yeah.
And then the doctor was just like, oh no, it's not broken. We just have to put it back in, and they
Yeah.
just put it back in, and he's fine.
Yeah. So, and then we were back at it.
Never a dull moment.
Never. It seriously keeps you on your toes.
How many days into the tour?
Like
it was two.
It was like the third show too.
Yeah,
It was like right
No,
when we were getting our rhythm
to
going.
throw
Yeah.
the whole tour out.
You guys were probably stressing your
I
ass.
know, that was crazy.
My
The
God.
third date on the damn
Yeah,
tour.
I know.
To be honest, I feel like we did a pretty good job of staying calm for the most part. Like, I mean, internally, there was obviously a bunch of overthinking but at least for me personally, I was like, I'm just not gonna have an opinion on this until like Land's all good.
Yeah.
I also kind of figured like Land's state of sort of suffering was very like made sense for a dislocation. You know what I mean? It was very like, somebody please like help me now. You know what I mean? Where it's like, in my head I was like, okay, please, I really hope he dislocated his arm and didn't break it or something.
No.
It also looked a little long.
Yeah.
I feel your pain, not necessarily exactly, but me and my buddies, senior year, about 2 or 3 days before graduation, we're bullshitting in the park, probably doing some stuff that we shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
And we decide, okay, let's just start playing tag, whatever, it's just stupid.
Yeah.
So one of my buddies eats tag, he's running after me, and I'm running up the stairs to this, this slide in the park.
Yeah.
He's right behind me, so I'm kind of, moving my shoulder, and he's coming up right behind me. So I get to the top of the slide. I don't have time to put my feet in front of me. So I'm just like, okay, fuck it. I'm going to go down, and then when I get almost to the bottom, I'm just going to kind of put my feet out there, and then I'm going to take off. Well, I did go down the slide. I did get near the bottom. I did get my feet out, and I did land. But when I landed, my left kneecap was on the side of my leg.
Oh,
my
man.
God.
I'm not joking. And I told, this is my old buddy Gerald. Gerald, if you're listening, man, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I probably looked at Gerald with the death stare. I said, dude, if you so much as touch me, man.
Yeah.
I said, don't touch me. Don't anybody move. Nobody move. Nobody move.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, and it's weird because with the kneecap, it's such a nasty feeling.
Oh, man. Yeah.
But the bottom, part of my leg was just kind of, loose.
Yeah.
So I just straightened it out. It popped back in, and
Wow. Oh, my God. Wow.
Crazy.
That's amazing that it was all good, though. That's crazy.
I was limping for my graduation, man. I was so worried out to be up there with crutches. But but was it a lot of pain for you?
Yeah. I mean, it's to anyone who's dislocated their shoulder. I mean, it hurts like crazy. But
I'm
I mean,
sure
it's
that knee thing.
yeah,
was
that must have
crazy,
been.
though.
I mean,
It's just nasty. It was
Yeah.
just it just feels so unnatural, right?
No, it does, definitely. But I mean, honestly, again, the whole thing, I mean, it happened in a flash. It was over in a flash. I mean, I still had pain and stuff for the shows, but but it was fine. We got to do the shows, which is the thing that I was the most, stoked about. So thankful for that. Yeah.
So from the time that you dislocated it to
Yeah.
the next show you played, how many days?
We had a day off. So I dislocated on the night of a show, and then we had a day off, and then we had the next show. So one day. Yeah. And it was fine by then. Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. But yeah, no, these dudes, thanks to them helping out extra and lending an extra shoulder into the situation.
Doing a couple 4-hour drive shifts
there
while
you go.
Of
I
course,
was
we have to
conked
carry
out in the
everything
back.
from
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
we
the
were-
thing is, I'm already the lead singer, so I'm not supposed to carry anything. First off, and then
Right.
and then double down on that with literally not being able to carry anything. So
Literally.
yeah,
Man.
yeah.
That was funny.
No, that's a trip.
We were all
Exactly.
feeling bad for the first couple days. Then the third day, I was like, "All right, can you lift something?" Up?
All right, you can move something. You can lift your guitar, man.
Yeah, your guitar's your arm's in its right place.
Oh, that's too funny.
Yeah.
No, I would have been stressed. I can't imagine the stress that you were under.
Oh
But
my God.
it's amazing you powered through.
Yeah, no, it's a good time then.
So when you realize that you're about to go live after you popped your arm out of socket, I mean, are you fearful? Are you scared? Are you?
I mean, honestly, I was just back at that point. I was kind of just back in show mode and stuff. I mean, it really, for me, we had a lot of fun with these shows, getting to, bringing Kai in for the first tour that we'd done together with him, and we were just still like getting in those reps and stuff. And I mean, that was kind of an added element of just like, all right, I hope nothing happens. But, you know, besides that, we were just, you know, still getting after it and stuff, which I thought was fun for sure, you know.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
It was like, it was fun. Just like, I don't know, if there's anyone to be on the road with, it's definitely these guys. We all kind of have we like know each other so well and have similar tendencies and just work well together, sort of on and off tour. But it's, it was just a fun experience being like, I don't know, we just had a lot of fun together, and we all again took it super seriously, and just were grateful for opening for Nothing But Thieves, and we're grateful for all of their hospitality. I mean, it was pretty unbelievable. Easy, like in a band in their position, you have a lot of power to not do that, you know what I mean? And they
could not be nice if they wanted to.
Yeah. And yeah, no, it was really cool.
Man, yeah. That's good to know.
Yeah.
That's good to know. So coming back from this tour, I mean, what's your mindset like now? What have you learned? Like, where are you guys going? How you feel?
Yeah, 100%. Well, I mean, like I said, you know, so we've finished the next project of music that's going to be coming out. Brain Deaf is kind of the lead off from that. And I mean, we've just been focusing on that and so on, getting excited about it. And, you know, I think like we were talking about working on new music already. I mean, for us, I mean, we're artists. We just like creating and making stuff. So we're just always after it, you know.
Yeah, I think it's like the second we finish one thing, it's always like immediately you want to make the next thing.
Yeah.
So
I think it's like
to keep it going.
Yeah, definitely.
When you like learn things so quickly, you kind of like you want to like act on them. You're like, oh, like I want like now, like once tour finished, we were kind of instantly like, oh, now we know these like 10 things we didn't think about. Like I can't wait for the next tour to sort of apply those, you know. And same thing with songwriting. It's like all these things that sort of come to the surface as you're doing it that you will now like apply to the next thing, you know, which is, it's really fun. Just constantly growing and learning.
Would you say it's added to you guys' creativity after being on the road like that and getting all these audiences' reactions?
100%. Yeah, definitely. No, I mean, and we were playing a lot of new songs, like a good mix of it, and you know, you start getting a feel for different things live and start thinking, just it kind of just expands your palette with those sorts of things. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So you're in a creative phase right now. Do you ever get in a phase where you're not creative and you're like, man, you know, like I'm stuck? Like, what do you do when you get stuck, you know?
Definitely. Well, after tour, we took like a few weeks off, like very much just like weeks off to like all go our separate ways and like get re-inspired, which I think is like a really important thing for, like, if you're doing something creative like this, you have to kind of like let it ebb and flow with like, if you do something as intense as a tour, then like, you know, I just left and went to New York because I have family I can stay with out there, and was just like out there like finding a new way into being creative. Do you know what I mean? And like doing that, and you kind of like have to take those like moments. I mean, it definitely is like, I feel like from our process making records, I always feel like it's never like the sort of like dream scenario you have where you like are just like super inspired and every song comes to you in like 5 minutes and you like kind of like hash it out in like a very like what your like ideal situation would be. It never really ends up like, we always have to put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to finish.
100%.
And like fight through being uninspired, but if you can't finish something, you know. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, the easiest thing to do is to start something new. The hardest thing is to finish something you have. You know,
exactly.
Very true.
And that's why it's best to, you know, I mean, the best songs were written in 5 minutes, and if you can just get in the practice of like the minute you come up with something, it's really easy to get to the end of the second chorus, and after that, then you all of a sudden it's like, you know, and it's, you can just make yourself do that on the first day. I guarantee it's like that'll be what ends up sticking. You know?
It's like, where do we go?
Yeah,
we're gonna put a bridge here. We're gonna break it down, and we're gonna go halftime. Like,
Totally.
The big thing for me is like I try to find creativity in like other sort of forms. Like if I'm feeling musically uninspired, I'll like try and like read a new book or like watch a bunch of movies or like not really listen to music and like try to like sort of, I don't know, the more like inspired I am by music I'm listening to, I'm also usually inspired to make my own stuff. If I'm like, you know, in the car and can't find a song I want to listen to, it's like I don't want to like force it. I kind of want to like put on a podcast or something. It's like that same thing where it's like not approaching it desperately in a way, like allowing time to gain genuine, like, strong inspiration for yourself. Like, I think after tour, it's really easy to be, and I kind of personally made this mistake, be like, we gotta get after it. I gotta go, like, sit in my room and write. And these guys, you know, they went and did the right thing of, like, going and kind of letting loose and, like, not doing that. But the other point is like letting yourself sort of incubate the creativity, taking breaks, taking your time doing it.
If you don't have an idea for a painting, don't just paint. Like, you
exactly,
know, it's sort of like you got like, you know, let like create the space for something for you to want to do it again. You know what I mean?
Don't force it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If it's there, it's there. If it's not there, then it'll come back. It'll happen.
Yeah.
I think like desperate music, like anything I've written in, like kind of the mindset of it feeling desperate, sounds that way to me. It doesn't sound like it's, I don't know, naturally inspired, I guess.
No, makes sense. So tell me, guys, how does your day begin and how does it end?
Yeah, music. There's you wake up thinking about a song, go to sleep thinking about a song, and it's just about it. Yeah.
It really depends on what I mean, like the last week we've been writing a bunch, so I get up and do probably like 2 or 3 hours by myself, and then we meet up.
Yeah.
Today we took a day off, so I went and played a bunch of drums by myself.
Great day off.
Yeah. Great day off.
I guess if that's your day off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much it. Yeah, just, you know, different creative endeavors. You know, dealing with different sides of stuff we got going on. Yeah.
How does your day end typically?
Rehearsing late and shit like that. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, burning the candle at all ends if possible,
Definitely
basically.
burning the candle at most ends usually.
Yeah, 100%.
We like to run too.
Yeah, we
Wrap
do
up
like
the
running.
rehearsal and do a run.
Going running.
I'm about out of that. But, yeah.
He's not allowed to run anymore
Yeah,
after his
he got his
shoulder.
After your shoulder
Yeah,
incident,
exactly.
you ain't going anywhere.
I know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's good. Do you feel like being in nature kind of helps, I don't know, rebalance, recenter?
I honestly feel like most of my inspiration or like ideas with music come from like things that don't have anything to do with music. Like I watch a lot of movies.
Yeah.
I get a lot of great ideas when I go running. We read a lot, go to museums and stuff. I feel like I kind of doing all that like other stuff is like the most helpful and we talk a lot about in like points of reference from other things.
Yeah. Definitely.
Meeting people, like seeing movies, like I'm a big fan of pulling inspiration from other, like you were saying, like other art forms and turning them into music. You know what I mean? Like instead of like, I don't know, watching a movie that really made you psyched and then being like, how do I like, I don't know, it doesn't even have to be like, oh, this song is like supposed to sound like Star Wars or something. It's more like the general feeling of inspiration that's like a piece of art can give you, and then like applying that to music, I think is really cool.
Yeah.
You ever get that from jamming, like you're watching a movie but you still got the guitar in hand?
Yeah, for sure. That's actually
interesting. I've never tried that.
That's actually I do that. I've done a bunch of that, and that's actually one of the best ways to work on things in practice, because you slip into that subconscious thing.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, 100%.
You're not trying to, but yet there's something going on here, but there's something going on back here, and you're pulling, I don't know, you're pulling it all together.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what's next for you guys in 2025?
Yeah, so like I'm talking about, we have this EP that we're super excited about getting out there, and things are very hush-hush about it right now, but that'll be coming soon. And yeah, just, I mean, working on a ton of new music, and mainly, you know.
Hopefully some touring.
Yeah, we're gonna announce some shows for sure in the spring.
Yeah, definitely in LA, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just keep playing, keep writing some stuff.
Definitely.
Staying active, staying busy.
Staying busy.
Yeah.
Keep it moving. By the way, Taipei Houston, what's the name come from?
It's super random. It's just comes from it's a trade route that flights fly all the time from Taipei, because Taipei and Houston are like two of the biggest trade hubs. It doesn't make any sense. It's completely random, but I kind of like it because it's like global, like.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think
I don't know.
it doesn't. I think sort of like, I don't know. It's so funny actually. The other day I was like looking at some things. We made a joke about a band name, and I like found a list in my phone that had Taipei Houston as a band name idea on it, which was really funny. I didn't think of that, but I remember writing it down like years ago, which was really funny. Yeah, I don't know, it just had a ring to it. Just that's kind of the main thing, you know.
So you wrote it down and then you came up with it later?
No, I think you came up with it. I don't really remember.
Honestly, it's one of those things. Yeah, yeah. One of those things you don't remember.
I really like band names that like really don't indicate. Like you could like the band name Taipei Houston to me could be like anything. Like it's not like inherently like it doesn't sound inherently like a rock band to me, which I kind of like. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was like why we chose it. I think is like that it just doesn't necessarily really mean anything.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Certainly a point of conversation, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Good conversation starter.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I say it, it's just like, yeah, it could be anything.
Yeah.
Nobody ever seems to have a, you know, it's never like, oh yeah, I know exactly why they called called their band that. That makes perfect sense.
Well, now people will know because we said it on the podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, tell everybody where we can find you online.
Spotify, Instagram.
Yeah, all of we're
Apple
everywhere.
Music,
anywhere
YouTube.
that you're online, Taipei Houston is
just
there
Google
to be found.
Taipei, you can Google
Our
Taipei.
website has up-to-date information about everything.
You can
Instagram is the best.
Get
Yeah.
vinyl of Once But Never Born.
Yeah.
online,
You can get
or
vinyl.
at the show.
Yeah, exactly.
Really?
We have vinyl of the first project.
Oh,
yeah.
heck yeah.
Yeah, and definitely we'll do some vinyl for the next thing too.
Yeah,
and
100%.
yeah, like I said, stay connected on Instagram and so on. We're announcing a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
soon,
we're definitely
so.
gonna be doing stuff soon. So
Keep your eyes peeled for a show near you.
Keep it locked. It's been an honor and a privilege, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having
Thank
us.
you so
Appreciate
much.
it.
Great.
yeah,
We'll have a really good time.
no, thanks for having us on. It's really super fun.
Yeah, it's great to
I
get
so
to come
much
do this.
appreciated. I'm really gonna push it. My favorite part is chopping up the show into pieces.
Yeah.
And then I push each of the shorts as to whatever topic it is.
Yeah.
And you guys were very informative, so it's great, and it's great. It's great for the fans. It's also great for aspiring musicians. Hear you guys and how you do how you busted up your show.
Yeah, I know, dude. It's crazy, right? I mean, hearing about your knee, I felt bad, man.
That knee story is insane.
Yeah, that's
It was
wild.
gnarly.
Yeah.
It was gnarly.
Yeah.
Now, I never had to have surgery, which was crazy.
Yeah, the worst.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Hurts
But
so
no
bad.
no surgery for you?
No, none's just doing physical therapy and stuff. I mean, it's one of those things. Now that it's happened once, it can happen again.
See, they told me the same thing because I was like, I don't like this popping out shit, and it's like, yeah, well, you kind of opened up that door. And I was
Exactly.
like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I know, but that's the thing is like, because they were like, well, you could do the surgery and then go to physical therapy, or you could go to physical therapy and not maybe just skip the surgery. And I was like, well, then I gotta go either way, so I'll just go to physical therapy.
Yeah,
definitely. But no problems, nothing, right?
So far, none. Yeah, everything's been fine.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
you'll heal.
Yeah.